Welcome back, everyone, to Jed and Gary Wrestling Podcast, a Gary and Jed Wrestling Podcast, depending on whose name you want to speak first. Today, we're going to do a review for Dynamite this week. We are doing this on Saturday evening in a sweltering, well, I would say English summer day. We hardly get these, so for me, I'm enjoying it as much as I can. I'm out the window getting a van tan. If anyone doesn't know what that is, van drivers in England, you really see them just having one arm fully tanned because they just have it out all the time. So that's what I'm trying to go for. I don't know what you're trying to go for, Gary. Hopefully you're doing the other arm to mine.
I think you've got the whole Blackburn Rovers arm kit sort of going on, and I've got the one when they reverse the sides of the halves.
I'll take that. So it's a review of Dynamite, a bit of an up and down show for me. I don't know for yourself, Gary, but we'll discuss it. First thing I want to say, just as before we started off, is AEW actually brought a few members of the crowd in, which was a nice surprise. What they did was 150 people, I believe, in total. They did do a few bits of COVID testing beforehand. They also had to sign a waiver for people to come in, but it was a very, very nice surprise. And the camera angles were very smart because they made it look packed. But when social media, if you look into people's social media, it was actually there at the night, you can see the social distances were still adhered to. But I'm actually happy that some members are back in. At least it gives it a bit more of an environment. And you can tell the wrestlers were happy as well, Gary, because a few people started looking up. One bit that made me laugh later on in the night is Hangman Page looks at the camera and goes, "Oh, there's people here," and it made me pop that, to be honest. But what are your views overall of the night, Gary?
I think it wasn't as good as last week, but it was passable, sure. For Tag Team Appreciation Night, they appreciated their tag teams. That's about as well as you could possibly can describe it.
It is, and I generally thought the singles matches were one singles match was much stronger than the others, but for tag team matches as they go, they're just box standard for AEW. They're just minimal, like 3.5, 4 after most of the time. You do get the odd threes, but it's AEW, the strongest tag team division in the whole world. So it started off with one of the best tag teams in the goddamn world. Young Bucks versus the funniest tag team in the goddamn world at the moment, the Dark Order. So what it was Young Bucks came out, did the entrance, and suddenly they get attacked by our favourite good old Silver Boy, Alex Reynolds, and Five. The commentators really put over that it's strength in numbers as they were attacking the Young Bucks. And then the Dark Order, Evil Uno and Stu Grayson come wandering out afterwards, kissing Five's head, which I found really funny. And then they threw the Young Bucks in the middle of the ring. A lot of offense, the usual Young Bucks sort of stuff. The Dark Order surrounded Matt a couple of times in the match. He crawls under the ring at one point out to the other, which was quite funny. And then Nick actually shouts best comeback in the business as he takes them all out. They do the usual moves, whatnot, and it finishes off with Nick rolling up Uno whilst Matt gets surrounded in the entrance area, which was actually a surprise. Funnily enough, that's what the move's called, a surprise roll-up. A very, very solid start to the show, and I'm very glad it was started with a tag team match as well, to be honest, because that's what this night's about.
Yeah, and we had to start with this tag team match in particular, didn't we? Let's be totally honest about it. If you want to start a match or a night off appreciating tag teams, you start it with Young Bucks. And there is nothing wrong with adding Stu Grayson and Evil Uno to that list.
I'm so glad
nothing wrong whatsoever.
Because I generally thought this match was stronger than the title match as well. Again, I think they have a bit more chemistry with Young Bucks because they did mention that the Dark Order are like the coming up to be the best tag team. Obviously, times change. They probably think someone else now. We'll get onto that. But the chemistry between these four was just was really, really good. And you can tell as well, usually with a Young Bucks match, it's very coordinated pre-hand. There's a few things they did on the fly. You just have that feeling. Really solid. I love Evil Uno and Stu Grayson at the moment. They're absolutely entertaining characters. And I just love
Yeah.
how Stu Grayson goes around the ring. Stunning to see. I really would enjoy a Stu Grayson versus Nick singles match as well sometime down the line.
Yeah, can I just say in particular that yin and yang that they hit this week was absolute perfection.
Oh, it was. It really was. I love the name as well. Something about the name really pops me. Just every time the commentators go over. Just a line of the commentators. Taz, fantastic job. I know Excalibur's not in for another week. He will be due back very, very soon. But Taz, he's doing the role of the heel commentator extremely well. Out of 5, Gary, what would you give this match?
Probably about a 3.5, 4.
Oh,
But
sorry.
I'm
Why did I say
probably
sorry? Why did I say out of 5? You just say out of 10.
Just stick with a 5. It makes more sense to me.
Okay.
I'm used to the Dave Meltzer sort of extreme sort of Kenny Omega's the 6-star man. Oh my God, no! He's broke the internet. All that sort of stuff.
Fair enough.
I want my own Dave Meltzer award a 6-star match off sometime. That's what I'm after.
Hey, don't worry. There'll be a Jeb Brown 11 out of 10 eventually.
Also, can I just mention as well, you're after Stu Grayson getting a bit of a push, aren't you?
Yes.
Right? Have you noticed that every time that they lose, it's Uno that gets pinned?
Not until you've just told me, to be honest.
Yeah, it just seems to be that way over the last 3 weeks where I've actually been paying attention. It's just Uno got pinned. Uno got pinned. There's got to be something in that.
Yeah, it is really, because again, with BTE going into this conversation, because the Dark Order are probably the hottest thing on that at the moment. When you think about it, if you do want to split up the Dark Order down the line, if it ever does happen, because you never know, this might be like the sub-elite, where the Dark Order is basically the complete reverse. But we'll get into that in the future, because something else will probably be the reverse. If they did ever break up, you've got that instant storyline with Alex Reynolds, Silver, Evil Uno being like on one side, then Stu Grayson 5, and Brody Lee being on the others, and then you've got some of the Dark Order riffraff that want to choose either side, because you don't really see 10 that much anymore. It's mostly 5 that they're using as their subpar guy. And yeah, I think it does make sense with Evil Uno getting pinned, as you mentioned it, Gary, because Stu Grayson, if he ever did want to do a split up, I don't think they would, personally, but if they ever did, he will be an extremely strong singles guy. And even if you wanted to pin somebody up with Brody as like a tag team, Stu Grayson's perfect for that role. He's like a mini me version. Just give him like the dark coloured beard and stuff like Brody Lee has, and he's basically his like mini version of himself. And they're both extremely good in the ring. I think them two as a tag team would be phenomenal as well.
Yeah, you can't argue with that. But I've always liked Brody Lee more as a singles guy than a tag team guy, and I'm hoping that's the way that they stick with him until obviously it comes time for him to wind down his career a little bit, at which point pass on the secrets, mate.
Yeah, and I really wouldn't mind, when they do the cross-gender managers. So imagine Anna Jay gets pushed in the future, because I think she's got a bright future ahead of her. If she gets passed, and you still got this Dark Order storyline going on, seeing Brody Lee in Anna Jay's corner I think that'll be amazing in itself, a nice little spectacle, giving her a mini push. I think that'll be interesting if Brody Lee needs to wind down. But no, we'll get into Brody Lee later on, because he is on. This led up into a mini promo, nothing much really, just typical MJF stuff, coming out of his change room, giving gum in the mouth by somebody. He speaks to that the woman, I forgot her name now, it's later on in my notes. I think it's Nina. I think it's that's who it was. Basically saying you speak when you're spoken to, proper spitting on the woman. That is his character. So please don't get too offended with it. And then he pushes that other guy into the wall, saying, "Stay out of my shot." I just really appreciated small vignettes like this. Then, because it's Tag Team Appreciation Night, they started asking teams who the favourite tag teams were, and this was very important for these two. So it started off with Hangman Page and Omega. They were asked who the favourites are. So Hangman Page was about to say something, and Omega he immediately interrupts in and says the Young Bucks, because the Young Bucks have reinvented tag team wrestling. And then Hangman goes, "Hey, hang on. I was going to pick us two." So Omega looks at him slightly, and then Kenny's like, "Oh, no, ignore that. We're two singles guys." So it's very good that they've interwoven their little relationship into this tag team appreciation. I really enjoyed that mini vignette. More on to Kenny and Hangman later on. This led with one of Gary's favourite promo guys. I'll let you speak about it afterwards. Basically, MJF comes out. He shakes hands with Taz, because obviously Taz is the heel commentator. He ends up in the ring. He's doing his usual speech to do with the campaign and whatnot. Stresses at Nina to smile and wants to show some stats out. I really appreciated the stats on the big screen. It basically said MGF is 500% to win. He had 551,475,896 votes to Moxley's negative 1,000%. He wanted to mourn because a leader's going to die, which is Moxley. He said to Moxley that he's scared of MGF. He's not as talented as MGF. And then he pushes away he actually moves away his podium. And then he lies down on his back. What did you think about this promo, Gary? I just want your thoughts.
I thought when he laid down on his back, I couldn't stop laughing. It just reminded me of all them, like the Hulk Hogan, Jeff Jarrett thing with Vince Russo from like 2000. And I know it shouldn't be a good thing for that to remind me of. But I think this was making a point, and it was basically just, we're not that stupid to actually do this.
Yeah.
So, and like, to the fans may have noticed it, may have not, may have felt about it the same way I did, but I actually really laughed at this because I just thought it was a middle finger salute to that segment from WCW back in 2000.
See, because I don't have as much vast knowledge as wrestling as what you have, Gary, and you love that era as well. That didn't come in my head at all. And I
wouldn't say that I loved WCW in 2000. Let's be honest here. I do have a very nostalgic view of it, but let's be honest, it was trash.
Okay, I'll just say your vast knowledge in general then. But this promo itself, it was 50-50 on me. I really, really enjoyed it. I like the angle at the very end, and I'll get to that bit in a second. But I stopped listening for some reason. I don't know why. I had to go back and watch it the second time.
Because it's pretty much the same thing he said for the last 2 weeks.
I think it was just a repeat.
It's not brought anything new, so why should you listen?
It's exactly that. It was a repeat. It was a similar style. Yeah, he got rid of the podium. And then when he led down, I was just thinking to myself, oh, that's a fancy new camera angle you're using. And then that's it. That's all now. I completely forgot what he said. The only thing I picked up was a Joker reference he used from Batman The Dark Knight. When he said, "You're like a dog chasing cars, you just don't know what to do to catch one." And in my head, I was just giggling to myself, thinking, Heath Ledger's on the screen here. But the last bit of the angle, I really appreciated when he was calling out Moxley, really. He told the music started hitting at Moxley, so he told his Secret Service, that's what I'm going to call them, to go up into, I can't remember what word terminology he used, but...
the VOMs.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, because everyone that sits there stinks.
So that's what he said. He got his Secret Service up. Obviously, he knew it was going to happen because Moxley is actually an intelligent babyface. Yes, WWE, listen. He came out through the entrances, and then he absolutely grabbed MJF, threw him to the floor, beat him up, paradigm shift. I really appreciated MJF's selling of the paradigm shift, to be honest. His eyes made me giggle a little bit. And then Moxley grabbed the mic. Well, he didn't grab the mic. He went into the back again and then grabbed the mic, did a decent promo, the typical Mox promo we've got. And you know what got me out of all this segment? Tony Khan in the background, looking exactly as I look now, with shorts, sandals, a little t-shirt on, just looking at Moxley whilst he's doing his promo. It proper made me giggle.
It was like seeing the gorilla position back in WWE. Imagine if Vince McMahon came out and did that while like Drew McIntyre was cutting a promo.
I could see Triple H doing it, you know, like just saying a bit of that, but I wouldn't be able to see Vince doing it. But I really appreciated that because it's like slight cameos for him, and at least he'll get something out of that, and they'll have a nice little handshake. But it was a bit wobbly throughout because it was just a repeat, and I don't like repeats. It's one thing that put me off with WWE, listening to the same thing every week. But because it was a different style and a different ending, it's really, really heated up this little Moxley MJF feud extremely well, I thought. And even though MJF is not the most talented, I would say he's much better than I am, because most of these, well, every single one of these wrestlers are. He's not as good as some people on that roster, and he's a bit inconsistent with some matches he has. But I'm really looking forward to that match now. I don't care how it goes. I just want each other to destroy, and a few shenanigans. I will allow a few shenanigans in that match. I'm really looking forward to it now.
Yeah, I wouldn't want the shenanigans to take over the match.
No.
But I do expect Wardlow getting involved a couple of times, turning around and trying to help out his mate.
It is, and MJF is he's so naturally talented when it comes to speaking. It's unbelievable. I just want his charisma. It's insane, even though 50, like I said, my comparisons to John Cena, 50% of the people love him, 50% of the people hate him, but it's a love to hate and a hate to love sort of thing. So it's phenomenal. He's brilliant. So this ended up with, sorry, go on.
I do have to say though, this week they very much grounded it as MJF is the heel, right? And he sounded like the heel and he acted like the heel. As opposed to the last couple of weeks where there's been certain phrases that have been used where you're like, well, if John Cena was to say that, that would be the most babyface promo in the world.
Yeah.
Whereas this week, all the things that he did was just, this guy's an absolute douche. And I'm like, well happy about that, because now you have your defined heel character. I actually found myself getting more into the Mox character because of it.
And I'm glad, to be honest, Gary,
I mean?
because it's one of the things that I think AEW have disappointed you on, and it's not disappointing me, but it just makes me a bit sad that Moxley's not as the champion as he should be, like, towards yourself, because I know other people will be thinking like that as well. I don't mind him. There's bits of elements I don't like, elements I do like, but because he's more disappointing to you, that's what makes me sad, because there'll be other people like yourself, and I'm glad that it's not turned the full corner, but it's just made that clarity a little bit for you, ready going into the match for All Out.
Yeah, I still want to see MJF win the title.
I'll be honest, I do. I really do.
I'm not ever going to be Moxie's biggest fan. I'll be honest with you. His promos to me are all the same, and the way that he wrestles and every match that he does are the same. So, yeah, there might be a spot where he does a paradigm shift on top of a table, right? But then the next match he'll do a paradigm shift onto steel tacks. To me, right? Ouch, right? I wouldn't like to take the move, right? No doubt whether it's like gimmicked or what, I still wouldn't want to take the move. But it's always going to end the same way. Mox uses violence. Violence wins.
Unscripted violence, and that's when we're going into music intros previously. So this went into one of the strangest characters on AEW. Matt Hardy was getting interviewed. He was just basically getting interviewed about the Sammy and about his cut on his forehead. So he said he is alive and he doesn't die. He's been seeing red and he wants to make Sammy bleed. He has 10 days to be cleared. This is the first reference they've made that they are doing the show on Saturday, is what we picked up from last week. We wanted the advertisements for that Saturday show to be last week going into this week, but no, they only started doing it this week. And then he basically sees red when a referee walks by dressed in Sammy's gear. I've seen a few people on Reddit not too happy with this angle, but this is, for me, a bit like for you and Marks. This has turned the corner for me for this match. I know we may be seeing it on the Saturday, which is good. I don't think it's a pay-per-view worthy match, but I really enjoyed this bit. But I still don't understand why a referee dressed up as Sammy. It would have made more sense to have, like a similar guy that's jobbing out to MGF, getting shoved into the walls, that sort of character to dress as Sammy. It was a bit weird that a referee was dressed, but I'll get into the referee side of it later. I really enjoyed this little segment, and I know what you wanted before this segment anyway, Gary.
Yeah, just like a quick 20-second skit, maybe just after the tag team match of Sammy Guevara walking out of his dressing room, just looking around, spotting this referee and handing him the leather jacket and the baseball cap and the sunglasses. As soon as he would have done that, this whole segment would have made so much more sense. Just like some confused version of Matt Hardy looking at all these identifying features and just going, right, Guevara, whack. Right? That would have made so much more sense, but now it's just a referee that walked through the arena for some reason in a leather jacket and a baseball cap. For no reason at all.
I can think that it's a referee is that they're going to extend this 10-day thing. If they want this match to be on a pay-per-view, they'll basically say, oh no, we're going to mini suspend Matt because he's attacked a referee and he's going to have the match at All Out instead of the Saturday. That's the only reason, the only thing I can think of. And then Sammy can do a promo on Saturday saying why Matt's suspended. That's the only thing I can think of. But yes, I do prefer your idea 10 times more. But I did enjoy this vignette, to be honest.
Yeah. It was... I'm enjoying the sort of bringing together of all of Matt's different characters into this one ball of confusion.
Yeah.
I never know what to expect from 1 second to the next now. Instead of it being a completely different character between different Dynamites, right? Now it's different characters within the same promo. So that I'm more likely to accept because it's a lot easier to follow that sort of thing happening for some reason. I don't get it because you're literally throwing everything at the wall in one go.
You know, but really funny.
Does make more sense.
Is because it's all mixed into one. Imagine if he had all his gimmicks on a dice, and then for some reason Brandon Cutler comes in. He's playing like a D&D game, and he's just rolling the dice. And then Matt Hardy changes to that character that's just showing up on his dice. It would be pretty funny. That okay, yeah. If you're listening, Ali, get on BT. I'll give you a segment there free of charge. Just make sure you put our podcast on your description. Yeah, Jed and Gary podcast. Yeah. Okay, thank you. So this goes into the next match. From one referee getting attacked to a legendary referee showing up, we had Mike Chioda. I'm not going to sing his song. I'm bad at singing, completely out of tune. And yeah, that's all I'm saying for that. So I'm very, very happy that AEW swooped him up. And as you said before, Gary, a bit of a middle finger up to WWE. I think this is the biggest one of the show because he's a hell of a referee. He's a big name as well. And he can teach a few of the younger referees in the company. Just a few tweaks here and there. I know a few WWE shills have said, oh, they can finally teach AEW some rules. But no, it's not about that. It's about experience. And he has got buckets full of it. On top of this, it's Cody, so he has to bring out the big guns. He comes out with the TNT, the completed title. What do you think of that title?
Beautiful compared to the pots and pans one that we had before. This is definitely an upgrade on that. I still have a problem with the Shield being a circle because I've never really liked circle looking belts apart from the old WWF one from the Attitude Era, which was okay. It was never as good as the Eagle belt, but it is what it is. But yeah, apart from that, yeah, it's miles better than it was. It looks totally flashier. I love the diamonds. I love the gold. Yeah, it's what was needed with that.
It's stunning, and I do enjoy the red background. I'm a bit different on the circular side of it. I don't want to go too much into the belts, but as a belt as a whole, that sort of design, minus the red, even though I do like the red, it's something I would have created on, like, them old WWE games where you can actually start editing the titles and stuff. That's like something I would go down. But let's be honest, the best title belt in the world is our logo. Okay, next. So it was Cody versus Scorpio Sky. I really enjoyed Scorpio Sky's entrance. What it was, he just came out with his new tunes. He had a door there, and I was thinking, why are they filming like at the back when his music's playing? But no, he breaks down the door, he comes out, and he storms on. Obviously, Cody comes out. He gets introduced as I forgot what it was now. I put it on my notes saying mention this, and I didn't put what it was. It's something to do. Okay, 1 second. This is a Google time. Can you think
Well
on
done,
top
Jed.
of your head?
Always fantastic with this. Well, if you would have told me beforehand that I needed to make a note of it, I would have done.
I know, it's my fault, mate. Cody Rhodes, entrance, name. Never mind.
Is it the Prince of Wrestling?
That is the one, yes. A very, very heelish name. I was thinking that. For some reason, I was thinking along the lines of like the Dark something. I was thinking, no, it's not dark at all. But no, it was a good match. Very, very decent singles match. More surprised of this match than I was. It lasted a bit longer than I thought it was, but very, very well needed. Sky was wrestling like a heel, and I thought trying to pull himself up. And then before you know it, on the big screen behind him, Brody Lee shows up with the old title, kicking out a promo. And I didn't get it, Gary. I was actually a bit confused when I was listening to it. But what he was saying is he's going to have a wrestling match against him against Rhodes on Saturday. He's going to beat him for the title, and he's going to bring like glory to the Dark Order with it. And Cody doesn't stand a chance. He kept mentioning Saturday, and I was thinking to myself, I went, no, the pay-per-view's not next week, is it? I completely forgot that it was just going to be a genuine AEW, and I was just like, no, they haven't advertised it for Saturday yet, have they? So anybody that didn't know it's moved to Saturday may have been a bit confused. However, decent Brody Lee promo, box standard really, and I'm looking forward now to Brody Lee versus Cody. I just thought, I love Sky to bits, and his promos he's doing on Dark, phenomenal. Typical Cody, he overbooked this a little bit. New title, new referee, Brody Lee coming out the end. I felt like even though Sky wrestled a really good match, he was just, again, secondary to the whole thing, which, no, he should have been the main thing. And I don't know how you would have brought Brody Lee into it all. I just felt like it was a bit crammed, and Sky was just not as important to what it was, but it's one of Sky's biggest matches, except for the tag team win and the match against Jericho for the title.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from with that, because you could have just had Brody Lee cut that same promo half an hour later.
Yeah.
You didn't have to have Cody in the ring reacting to it, because what reaction did we get?
Just a typical Cody reaction.
It was just, oh, okay, fair enough. He's the next one.
Yeah. I'll see you Saturday there, Brody. See you in a bit, good old pal.
Right, the Brandy reacted more than what Cody did.
Yeah, she did.
At which point, everyone keeps telling her she's got terrible acting skills, but at least she's got some skills to do that.
Yeah, she's trying to sell it in a way that what wrestlers need to. Again, wrestlers don't need that pure breed acting, even though she sometimes doesn't have that. But nevertheless, yeah, I agree. She sold it more. Even Arn sold it a bit more than what Cody did. He just shunned it off a little bit. I think Sky sold it a bit more because he looked a bit confused, going, "Oh, what's going on here? Oh, looks like I won't get a rematch then. Yippee! I'll see you in Dark. I won't be on this show again."
Yep, back to Dark, relegated again just because of one loss. And I think
It
that's
is.
why he was so upset. And Sky is an interesting question mark for this show at the minute, because I'm very much wanting to see him more on Dynamite, but then trying to think of where you can put him, and there isn't anywhere.
Yeah, it's unusual because same with Frankie because he shows up at one point. I think in the title tag team match, I think he shows up. He's just watching it, and it's just like, yeah, you don't really see Chrissy Daniels, them three collectives together as SCU that often anymore. And they won the titles like at the very, very beginning. They're not even winning as many matches. I don't know like what they're doing in the background because the older wrestlers are helping out a hell of a lot around the show and different bits that we don't see and don't hear about. But it's like Sky, again, I think because you have that yearly reset, they might just be waiting to give him a bit of a big push. But I do appreciate they give him the new music and the new entrance and give him the little promos. They might just be waiting for that mini heel turn for him or just that grey area. I know you like the grey areas in our wrestlers and in AEW, Gary.
Yeah, I think with Sky and Daniels and Kazarian though, they all work better as heels.
Yeah.
From what I remember seeing of them, like in Ring of Honor, and even before that, when it was just Daniels and Kazarian in TNA, they always better as heels. So I really prefer that option for them. Yeah, just get that heel turn done, lads.
I know. I just think back to his face turn when his shoe fell off. Oh, what a great time for Sky that was.
Yeah, absolutely. It worked out really well for him in the end, didn't it?
Yeah, one of my favourite moments in AEW history. That phenomenal. I just remember just because I think it was just the crowd. This led on to the private party getting asked who their favourites was. Obviously, the answer were the Hardy Boys, mentioning Jeff and Matt. And then this went into the tag team title match of Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus versus Hangman and Omega. Luchasaurus comes out just before the break. He speaks to the camera saying it's only taken 65 million years for his first title shot. Love you, Mom. I found that hilarious. But this match, Gary, this was just quite interesting because of all the mini stories they were telling. I really, really enjoyed the Hangman and Omega like heel act, like the actual wrestling style they were doing in, especially because I know what you're like, Gary. I know you love the Omega versus stunt like scenarios,
Yep.
but phenomenal. In a way, this was my favorite match of the night. I did really enjoy the Young Bucks match, but this one, just because of the mini stuff that were going through it, I just loved it. Loved every minute of it.
Yeah, do you not think that the Marco stunt stuff in this match though was sort of weird, because the commentators were like, "Oh no, you shouldn't be doing all this stuff." But then you think back like 3 weeks.
And he was doing all that stuff.
Yeah, it weren't just that. He got beat up for all that stuff. Do you know what I mean? And the guy that beat him up is literally in the middle of that ring. Of course he's going to be doing this shit. Sorry. If
It's
there is
fine.
anyone that got offended by that word there, I apologise to them, but there probably will be more.
Hey, don't worry, Gary. If we were getting monetization off YouTube, then we'll probably get like thrown out. But it's fine. We're not to that stage yet. We're only on 18
I
subscribers.
don't think I said it loud enough and I stopped myself halfway through the word.
Didn't
I
you say
just thought I'd
shiv, like a
apologise
shiv
just
in
in
prison?
case. Yeah, absolutely. Shib. Just like Simon Miller says.
There you go. So what happened in this match was there's a few good little bit of wrestling. I really appreciated the Omega versus Jungle Boy stuff. That I really entertained by that. That will be a decent singles match if that ever did occur in the future. And then there's one bit where Marco laughs at Omega because Jungle Boy outplayed him at one bit, and Omega just grabs him and snapdragons in on the outside of the ring. Brilliant. And then Hangman during the break, this is where he says, "There's people up there." I appreciate that again. There was Luchasaurus counteracted the buckshot with a choke slam. That was a really good vignette. The only thing about this match is Hangman looked a bit I wouldn't say weak, a bit lethargic in parts, a bit where I don't know if he's injured or something. I'm very, very unsure, but he just looked a bit unsteady.
Drunk.
Yeah, probably just a bit slow, but I don't know if that's an underlying issue. Then right at the very end, Omega pins Jungle Boy after the buckshot V-trigger combo. Very entertaining stuff for me. Again, like I said, match of the night. It just progresses that little bit of Omega and Hangman. You never know. Imagine, Gary, they did the double heel turn on these two, but they still had like a match against each other down the line. How insane would that be? It might probably 90% won't happen, but just imagine.
Yeah, Hangman for me has to be the ultra babyface at the end of all of this, even though at the end of all of this actually means it could be 2 and 3 years down the line. It doesn't mean it could be 2 or 3 weeks down the line. I mean, like the end of the long-term story that they are currently telling, right? Which may have several turns in the middle of it, but the end of the story has to be Hangman Page being the face of the company by being the face in the company.
Fair play. Strong statement. I will ask you the random wrestling question, AEW random question at the very end in relation to these two later on, so we can get back on it for you. So next he came with a promo, Santana and Ortiz. They basically just grabbed best friend stuff, threw it in a shower and poured bleach that was obviously water onto it. But typical. They refused to apologise for destroying Sue's van, them rebels. And then it was Butcher and Blade getting asked who their favourites were. I've got the answer right here, Gary, but you remember who it was?
Max and Paddy.
Max and Paddy.
Yeah, Peter Kay and Paddy McGuinness.
Fair enough. I bet you anybody there they don't know who them two are, but Road Warriors were their choice because of their
Of course
style.
they were.
Yeah,
It's their style and it's the Road Warriors. To me, are the greatest of all time.
I don't know who the greatest of all time for me are. I'm probably leaning more down to Young Bucks, to be honest, but we'll get into that. We will get into that. That's a decent question for a decent podcast that could take us a good half an hour, maybe a day. And then we ended up into talking about tag teams. This is what it was all leading up to, the tag team appreciation night for it all. So there were 4 teams in the ring. We had FTR on the left with Arn and Tully. And then on the right side, we have the Young Bucks with Rock and Roll Express, Ricky, and was it Robin, did you say?
I think so, yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty certain it is, yeah.
I always...
we'll call them Ricky and Robbie, right? And when we're wrong, right, you guys can tell us down in the comments section. We do apologise. We're not like 60 years old, so enjoy.
Yeah, I know it's a simple Google, but I like remembering stuff off the top of my head. And sadly, I always forget the non-speakers. So it's like Dax and who's the other one? Oh yeah, Cash. So Matt began. He was speaking about like how Young Bucks they got the style off the Rock and Roll Express, and then they revolutionised tag team. Then the mic got to Dax. He started saying that because of every team in this ring at the moment, they're making a living from wrestling. Really appreciate it. A lot of just praising everybody. The Rock and Roll. Rick started explaining that Young Bucks have led the way for the last 15 years, calling the Young Bucks best in the world. Then Arn grabbed the mic and told the Young Bucks are an entirely different team, a new generation, and basically called Rock and Roll Express the team of the century. Then Arn said FTR are best in the world. And before the second member of Rock and Roll Express, Robin, forgot his name, apologies. Tully grabs the mic. Good old Tully. This is what I was waiting for in this segment. And he basically turned around and said, I've got news for you all. Tom Brady was the best quarterback because he won championships. None of you have won any championships. So let's pat ourselves on the back very sarcastically. Typical Tully. I really appreciated him grabbing the mic, to be honest. And then he turned around to Arn and said, I can't believe you're in the ring with me at this time. I cannot stand the thing you did. about the because you interrupted my guy in relation to Spears, and he points at the emblem on Orn's jumper and says it's because of this, the Nightmare family. He doesn't mention the Nightmare family, he just points at it. And then Spears starts wandering out, which I really enjoyed. You know, I wanted him to come on Dynamite a lot more since the match he had with Dustin. Was it Double or Nothing he had when he had Tully's face on his underwear? I wanted him to come out more because his story's progressing and I really enjoy his persona. But so Sean comes out, Tully's there, and then Young Bucks, Rock and Roll Express, they're trying to interrupt it. Orn has basically wandered off, and then FTR, fake an injury, grab the knee brace, and they basically take out Rock and Roll Express. And I can't believe they did a spiked pile driver on Ricky. Jesus Christ. So the Young Bucks come rushing back in the ring. Omega comes out. Hangman's wandering out, a bit delayed. Obviously, he has a drink in his hand. And it ends with FTR. Major heel turn going into the back. Love this segment, every single minute of it.
Okay, so if you'll forgive me for a second, I'm going to retread a couple of things that you've just said. Just going back to when Tully sort of stalled the microphone and said, just give me this for a second. I kept hearing the phrase, entitled millennials. And all I was thinking was, he's cutting a promo here on two people that haven't actually earned the praise that they've got because they don't have the championships, in his opinion, right? Does that not just scream baby boomer talking to entitled millennials?
Yeah.
That is an internet conversation on social media happening in a wrestling ring. Wow. I never thought I'd get to the age where that happened.
But it was very, very well done. Again,
no, I'm not saying it wasn't well done. I'm saying it was extremely well done. But what I'm also saying is the way that Tully was talking was from that baby boomer sort of angle of them millennials think that they deserve all the praise in the world, but they haven't even earned it.
Get off my lawn. You don't deserve to touch my property. You've not paid for it. I have my well-earned stuff. Blah, blah, blah.
You haven't paid your dues until you've got them championship belts on. You know, that sort of thing. And Tully, when he turned round to Orn, that was such an old school promo where he's just like 1 second away from saying, you betrayed everything you ever stood for by teaming up with the Rods. Because if anyone knows Orn's story, teaming up with the Rods was the one thing he couldn't do.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, Dusty. And when it came to the final segment, and I mean the final segment of that, wasn't it Ricky that laid his hands on Tully first?
I'm unsure, to be honest. I'll have to look back
Ricky
at that.
Ricky turned round and smacked Tully, and that's what kicked off this whole sort of thing. Well, Tully's there, just got smacked. Tully's meant to be Dax and Cash's hero from when they were little and all of the time through their WWE career up to AEW and meeting them and all this sort of stuff. Wouldn't you do something if someone had done something like that to your hero?
Yeah, but it's because they faked the injury though. That's how they played the heel turn side of it.
I'm fully aware it's a heel turn. I'm just saying sometimes heel turns are justified, and with that, I'm sort of I can understand why you'd do that, and you've got to question as well, why did Orn just disappear?
I'm glad you picked that bit up because that's exactly what I was thinking. I was thinking it's coincidental that Orn's wandered out and then there's a sudden assassination of like this team. It was just very, very, very questionable and very worked out segment, because you go out with a lot more questions you came in with, and that was the point of it. It was beyond brilliant, and I thought the mini angle of FTR getting injured, quotation marks, last week going into this were brilliant. Could you see an FTR versus Rock and Roll Express match, just a proper squash match in the future?
I'm sure that would definitely get 50 plus seconds for 50 plus.
I'm not joking. The Rock and Roll Express are just, they're as bad as Derby sometimes. I could see it, because when they did that Canadian Destroyer, when we first saw my mum spike, I genuinely think they may be willing just to take it, and it'd be quite interesting if they do as well. It'd be much appreciated. But yeah, from the fact that Iron Wander's out, Sean's around, and Hangman Page had a delayed entrance, it's all very questionable.
Yeah, it also adds into the whole who's turning heel out of Hangman Page and Kenny Omega. Because right now, unlike last week and the week before, it seems more likely that Hangman Page, for the time being, will turn heel. Because it looks like he might be the fourth man. Or Cody could be the fourth man. Or Kenny Omega could be the fourth man.
Yeah.
Like,
oh my word.
How many different ways can they go about this?
I'd never put Omega in the equation. That is insane. You've just planted a seed in my mind, because you've got Cody, which is questionable. I generally don't think it will be him, but there's a fair few teasers with him in it. You've got Sean. You've got the MGF stuff, because in his promo the other week, when it's his first campaign, he mentioned a lot of references to do with famine and all the stuff about the apocalypse and whatnot. You've also got like good old questionable people. You've got Hangman, which is very possible. You've got others that could step into it, that may, but you never know. You might have Lance Archer, people are, which I doubt it. The proper Joker cards. It's Omega now. You're gonna give me an outlandish prediction for the next video. But yeah, we could talk about this forever, Gary, because I love this aspect of the FTR and just the Horsemen in general for AEW. I love it.
Before they actually pull the trigger, I actually want to do a video on that, by the way.
Okay. You'll be gutted now, like, if they just pull the trigger suddenly, like, next Saturday. You'll be like, what? Oh, too late. Oh, well.
Right, fine. We'll do it before that. Before next Saturday, as part of the preview, you'll get that question answered. I promise you. Right, that's to the audience that's listening, all 60 of you, or whatever it is. Thank you very much for your time, by the way. I appreciate it. Anyway, on with the show, Ched. I'm getting
it's all right. A little interview for Mike Yoda. Chris Jericho comes out with the legendary orange jacket that looks much, much more orange every week. I generally think after a show, he just pours a little bit more on and just like leaves it to soak in like his bathroom or something. But he comes out, he basically says to Mike that he saved his job and he could do it again. He needs to do him a favour. And then Mike just looks a bit confused. He goes, no, I'm going to call this down the middle. And then Chris is like, yeah, call it down the middle, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Yeah, call it down the middle. When I say, that's fine. And then next little segment was during the break that you didn't actually see, Gary, because I watch it on Fight TV. You watch it elsewhere. If Sammy came out, he had some cue cards. And he was just basically doing like, this cue card promos he does on the breaks against Matt. But what I found funny about this was it wasn't the content on the cards, because Fight TV have a bit of audio come through every now and again. The cameraman it was like there's going to be a feud with the cameraman and Sammy in the future. He was basically saying, okay, Sammy, you've only got 15 seconds left. And then after 15 seconds, he goes to Sammy, oh no, you got a minute. And then Sammy's like, what? I've just rushed like a few of these cards, and then it was just really funny. And then the camera's like, yeah, whatever. It was just, I really appreciated. And then after that, we got our little bit of injection of women's wrestling. For what it was actually quite entertaining. It was Heather Monroe debuting on AEW versus Shida. Just a nice little squash match. Shida got her to tap out, decent move, and she basically cuts a mini vignette at the very end. Mini promo saying she's waiting for her next opponent. She's waiting to be called out. or 2 minutes women's wrestling basically are 50 seconds for 50 seconds of women. I don't know. I couldn't work that into it. But yeah, they need more women's stuff on here. There wasn't even any Britt Baker on the show. Very disappointing. And maybe that's what this show was lacking, because there was something missing. Unsure what it was. Next vignette after that, before the main event, was Jake the Snake and Archer, who is beating up jobbers in the background. And I've got a bit of a opinion on this. I liked it. At the very end, he asked Jake, "Have you told him?" Jake said, "No, I haven't." So what he does, he makes Jake unbutton his shirt, rips it over his head, and on the back of Jake, Archer must have written at one point, "Everybody dies," in black marker. But it's the fact that I think they're doing now, they're addressing the complaint of Jake the Snake speaks for Archer, so it's like Jake the Snake is taking away his limelight, but it's not that at all. You concentrate more on Archer beating up the guys. You don't listen to Jake at all. I don't. I just watch Archer, and I find it very entertaining in beating up jobbers. And I think when you look at Snake's facial expressions, he looks scared. So I think they're going down the angle of Archer now has made Jake scared, because that's what I took away from this, to be honest. And if they do that down the lines, it'll make Archer look even more badass, in my opinion.
I've got 2 words for you.
Everybody dies?
Exactly.
Everybody should die, and Archer should give it.
If the Murder Hawk is telling you everybody, the Murder Hawk means everybody.
Oh, imagine a blackout on Snake the Jake.
Perfect booking.
Yeah, just having the same match. Snake the Jake getting a blackout, and Rock and Roll Express getting destroyed off FDR. Same match. Book it, AEW. Thank you. One thing I really enjoyed.
How to destroy the complaints on Legends straight away. How could you possibly take Jake the Snake and Rock and Roll Express off of me in one night? Wow. Yeah, I can imagine the internet going meltdown for that straight away.
And if Arn doesn't turn heel, just get Sean to do a spine buster on him.
Get Arn to do it.
Oh, what, on himself? That'd be very unusual.
Arn, right, jumps into the ring, right, and he does what Kenny Omega did in DDT wrestling, and he wrestles against a broom. Right? So this broom is there, and it delivers a AA spine buster, right, on Arn, who reverses it halfway through and just turns around so that he doesn't hurt his back. There you go, problem solved. Fuck it, AEW.
What AEW did after this was they advertised that part 1 of All Out will be on YouTube. They haven't done this. They have put all the pay-per-views on YouTube, but they started advertising on Dynamite, which is quite interesting. Really appreciate it. If you've seen the stats for subscribers, I have, because I'm an absolute ultra nerd. They've absolutely obliterated every single wrestling company with the amount of people they've gone up in subscribers. Yeah. They've really embraced YouTube properly. It's very, very well done. I think they're like 1.53 million now. I know like people at Impact have got more, but they've shot up really well. And they started advertising the AEW will be on Saturday. And then it ended off with a show, Orange Cassidy versus Chris Jericho. That's all I would give this opinion. I'll just give it a lowdown and then you can discuss it, Gary. I'll give you the floor. Best friends in a circle were banned from ringside. The commentators made to say that. Just typical Orange Cassidy moves when he's energetic in Chris Jericho. He does a fair few over-the-top ropes with his hands in his pockets. Typical super kick on Jericho. Jericho does really, really decent walls of Jericho midway through this match. Really enjoyed that move. But what it ended with was a bit of a sloppy finish, a few moves here and there, and then ended up in Orange Cassidy got Jericho in a mousetrap, which is another surprise roll-up, 1, 2, 3. But halfway through, which is the bit that got me, was Best Friends and Santana Ortiz came out randomly, and Mike Chioda was the one that's refereeing. Suddenly got distracted. You know, this legendary referee that we're trying to big up.
Yeah.
Suddenly got distracted off these 4 people that should be banned. Hager had a bit of interference in. He did a decent, his own version of like a spine buster sort of thing onto Orange Cassidy. Obviously, they didn't get the win. But it was that bit, that's the bit where it went downhill from me when everybody came out. Okay. This legendary referee, he pulled the Floyd bat off Jericho halfway through the match because he's not being a dickhead. Again, we're swearing. Apologies, YouTube. He's being a typical heel, not heel referee. It was that moment I saw everybody brawling. But what did you think of it, Gary?
I was kind of disappointed by the last 3 minutes of the match, I'm going to say. Basically, ever since the moment where the weapon was taken out of Jericho's hand, from that moment on, I was like, oh, okay. Okay. Because they couldn't even give Orange Cassidy a real win.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, give him a real win. I know they're probably still going to extend it for this 6-man tag or what have you at the pay-per-view. But please give him a real win. Like AEW, I'm actually begging you, give him a real one. Not a roll-up, right? But like proper clean over Chris Jericho, the man that can beat The Rock and Stone Cold in one night, and just make yourself a star. Make some money.
I think you hit the nail on the head for me, Gary, thinking back now. I think that's what this was missing from the show because I was quite enjoying it. And then when the main event happened, I was enjoying the match. And then the finish happened, and then that's when I felt deflated. And I think because I felt deflated at the very end of the show, I think that's why I was like, oh, this show was just nah. I think if you give him the proper win, but I know in the Indies, he was using this as like his finisher type of such, but because it's a bit sloppy to get into, I think that's what did me in. If it was a proper smooth way of getting into it, and then like the 1, 2, 3, but because you've got this mousetrap move, and then you've got his Superman elbow/punch, which is his like signature secondary finisher. But yeah, I generally think if he did like a Superman punch, Crerish joke like kicked out or something, or he got the win there and then he did another Superman punch and then got the win. Yeah, I would have felt much better about that. I think you've just found what I was missing.
Yeah, right now it just feels like a fluke.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I didn't want it to feel like a fluke. I think I said this in the preview, or at least in last week's episode, was please don't make it feel like a fluke. If you're going to have Orange Cassidy win, make sure that he wins. And yeah, it just feels, especially with the fact that it was botched. I think that added to it as well, was that Jericho was trying to go forward when he should have went backwards. And it was just a bit, That's probably the most Lancastrian way of describing it ever. But that actually means no. For anyone that doesn't understand, that's a bad move, unfortunately. But hopefully, Orange Cassidy and the Best Friends gets one over, and a big one over on Santana, Ortiz, and Jericho at pay-per-view.
Yeah. It's like it's not 1. It's like not 1-1. It's like 1 and 0.5. Yeah, you've hit the nail on the head for me. And I got delivered from AEW t-shirts as well. Got the new Orange Cassidy like blood orange t-shirt. Thoroughly enjoying it. Went out for a walk today with it on. Just kept thinking though about this finish. Exactly that. But overall as a show, it was good. I think we overhyped it a little bit because of the mid-season finale talk we're on about, but it's Dynamite. It's just still, for me, the best wrestling on at the moment by a long, long way. That's it for me, Gary. Is there anything else you want to add on for the show?
No, I just want to thank everyone again and ask them to like, subscribe, turn on the bell, and comment. Because all of it helps our our YouTube sort of algorithm stuff, and would love to hear from you all.
So, for me, last question for you then, Gary. Very, very quick. You can have a quick explanation at the end of it as well.
Okay.
Omega and Hangman, if they had to have a singles match very, very soon, who would you give the win to? Because this may change in a couple of months, or maybe a year, or whenever they have the match. But if they were going to have the match in a month or 2 months' time, who are you making the winner?
I'd have a 60-minute time limit draw.
I was expecting like a 1 or 2 answer, not the 3.
Yeah, I think I don't. I'd probably say that Omega can still deal with the loss.
Okay. A
Better
bit
than
like when he lost
Hangman
to
can.
Moxley in a way.
Yeah, kind of. But I don't want to see him lose anymore, so there is that in my mind. No. If I had to give the win to one of them, I'd give it to Hangman Page, just because he's the future, rather than the present. And at the minute, I'm trying to think of ways to build up the future. Because if you can look after your company for the next 10 years, then when that next TV deal comes up, then you're in for whatever you ask for, basically.
It is. It really, really is. And I generally think if they were going to have a match the next like month, 2 months, this again depends on the pandemic. I would get Hangman to win, and you know who I'll just get involved after that, who I've been clamming for to come back when they can, just get Pac back. Because you know when he kept complaining about his rubber match and stuff like that, for like all like between these three, because he's had a decent feud against these two people. So bring him back.
I really want to see a triple threat between them
Thank
all,
you.
to be honest with you.
For me, okay, the most ideal triple threat. Okay, are you ready for this? Not triple threat. Sorry, what am I on about? A fatal 4-way. Just imagine this, okay? Kenny, Hammond Page, Pac, and then I know you don't like him as your champion and whatnot, but if you add Moxley into that mix, because them 4, except for Moxley and Hangman, they're the only 2 that haven't like gone against each other yet, feud-wise. But it'll be extremely juicy. But I do like your idea of the draw because they haven't done that. And again, if WWE withdraws, they'll be pulling that out the freaking side, left, right, and center every week on Raw and SmackDown, even NXT, to be honest. But because they haven't had a draw in a while, if they did have the match in two months, I would allow it. 60-minute, proper gritty match, and then they both do a finisher, one kicks out, and then another finisher, the other one kicks out, and then they both clothesline each other in the middle of the thing, or buckshot on a feed trigger on each other, boom, and then Aubrey Edwards basically says, no, time's gone. Phenomenal finish, that.
Yeah. Just, I would much prefer the draw right now.
Yeah.
I really would. Plus, if that ever was to happen, it would add to the tension between the two of them as well.
It would. It really, really would.
Just because neither of them can prove that they're better than the other. And then you've still got that competitiveness still there, if not ratcheted up like another 10, 20%. Just because you're looking at them going, yeah, if I would have got that pin, I would have won. And then you've got the other one looking at the other going exactly the same way. So yeah, the double finisher sort of draw at time limit sounds great to me.
And if you did further booking, so this is the last thing I'll say, if you did further booking, because you have the draw for the first match, you just basically say that's fine. You have a best out of 5 or a best out of 3 falls match after that, so it has to come to a finish. So yeah, phenomenal. So much appreciated, guys. Oh, you really enjoyed the review today. As Gary said, like, subscribe, please share. We're going to add Twitter details on eventually, and I'm going to start promoting this on our Twitter handle on our actual Twitter feed over the weekend, because we need to create a brand new one because we're technically going to have 2. However, Gary, if they want to follow you, where can they find you?
It's at GeForce for Life with a 4 and a Y instead of an I. So GFORCE number 4 LYFE. GeForce for Life.
Legends, guys. And we may have a surprise for you this weekend, may not, depending on how free we are. It's like our third video extra for the week. But hope you all enjoy your evenings, mornings, afternoons, dinners, lunches, I don't know, some random seventh meal you have in the day. And we'll see you next time.